Hi everyone, today is the 21st of February 2025. Welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My name is Minna Crichton and I'm the narrator of my video clips and all the other video clips on my YouTube channel. Okay, so if you've been watching me on my YouTube channel in the last couple of episodes, I've been focusing on my current set of circumstances involving relationship scams and linking them to all the other relationship scams within my personal profile, meaning it's just the same cycle repeating itself, just using different people each time. So historically I have been used like an open book. So there's definitely, it's a definite case of home invasion and the breach of all the legislation involving myself as an individual. So it's definitely a scientific experiment done upon a human being while I was working for my employer without my consent. And so this makes my case a very serious conspiracy case under category 4 in the criminal jurisdiction. So the core elements or the core evidence and the reason and the cause of actions involving a home invasion is the use of relationship scams. Okay, so this is a historical case and the evidence is very clear, so it's just a matter of finding out who's actually the mastermind behind the relationship scam, the setting up and all the public deception. So somebody's actually mastermind this game. It is very evil, very deceitful, and it's the worst kind of a conspiracy ever known to mankind, because of all the innocent civilians that get caught up in it in the middle. But it is definitely a love triangle that I've been caught up in. So the most current recent incidents has to do with me and Henry Cavill, which is true. So I'm just going to carry on with introduction before I actually go on to my next topic. So the unlawful strikes on my court cases, the reason being is because of the relationship scam that I've been subject to, meaning the opposing allies are cheating and using the relationship scam system to take an individual down and use, or dehumanize an individual while other people steal or live their life without their consent. So the reason I'm just pointing this out, that's my reason of belief that I know without a shadow of doubt it is linked to the relationship scam, and the reason why the judges are making unlawful strikes, because it's a Commonwealth game. It's not one of your normal kind of a court case, without the middleman, and or someone being used for trafficking purposes. But this explains why the judges are making unlawful strike judgments. It is because of the illegal Commonwealth game that is global. So for those that are the originals, they are actually the slaves. So at the end of the journey of them finishing using someone for a pecuniary advantage like they have with me, eventually it reveals in their personal property that they've actually been subject to slavery or slave-like incidents in their personal profile historically, which now it's all clear in my personal profile and in my criminal case. So all the laws and legislation is broken in this matter, meaning this one here I've just used this court case, City Ministry of Health. I've actually charged them criminal charges officially in court, But unfortunately, every single corporate body involving to do with me are all now suspects of what's happened to me historically, and everyone will definitely be investigated because that's how it works in the criminal jurisdiction. But there's a definite clear evidence of AVL, a deviation to a substitute, making the public deception fraud, and the unlawful strikes are fraud at the same time. So it's definitely an unlawful operation. What I have found what they've done with me in the beginning, and this is the reason why I knew I was in trouble, just from privacy breaches that eventually accumulated and got so dangerous. And they just took advantage of an individual, and I knew that I was in serious danger, starting from the Ministry of Health, like with my medical records. The evidence was quite clear. I knew exactly in the moment why I was being attacked. But this is what they actually do. They dig up people's medical records. They're actually studying all your weaknesses in your body, like taking apart, like putting together or taking apart a car or something, and then they put everything together. That's exactly what they've done to me. And then they want to study your mind and how you think. But yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's the worst kind of conspiracy known to mankind, but it's really easy to do to anybody or any family. But this is exactly what they've done to me. The reason why they do that, they're actually studying your health because they want to know your weaknesses. So they will work or try and set you up or get you to a stage where they're focusing on that weakness to make you, everyone's got weaknesses, whatever it is. But what they do with this project is, I know in one of my video clips I talked about how they make you eat your words. Well, that's exactly what they do. They attack your weaknesses, or they anything good they'll take away. It's all part of taking somebody down. It's very personal, very intimate, and very serious. But that is why your privacy and your medical records are very important, and that no one should be having access to that without your consent. Okay, we're just focusing on the game. I'm the individual, so I'm still in a game at the moment because my court cases aren't really all finished. And I'm actually worth a lot of money, so of course I'm a threat to so many people. And it is a global game, and for it to be going back 2010, that's a very long time to use someone for a global game. So it's even more dangerous for myself and all the originals and other people involved. But it did start off like a project. I knew in the early days that I was, subject to very serious breaches, and it's just common sense. Over time, they will take advantage of that, of the person's situation, and if they can steal without anyone knowing, they will do it, and that's exactly what they're doing to people. Okay, so this here just kind of describes what they do in the scientific experiment. Everything I've put on this picture clearly articulates the methods and what they're actually doing. They're basically like treating people like animals, like dissecting how when scientists actually dissect an animal, they're doing that now to human beings. And that's what they've done to me. But at the same time, they've used me for movie ideas. They've used me for other purposes, money laundering purposes, without my permission. And there's definitely, they're collecting all your data, following you, recording you, and then they think that they've actually got some substantial evidence that can't backfire on them. Well, according to the laws, everything is challengeable if it's if it's not true, or hearsay evidence is not actually true evidence either. People can lie in court, especially if if the person doesn't even know that people are giving false testimony. Anything is challengeable in the criminal jurisdiction, and that's my right to challenge that, and that's what I'm doing. Okay, so in my case, clearly it's freedom from discrimination by the government. Unfortunately, I did work for the government for over 17 and a half years. So I'm no secret. People think I've got no friends or anything, but I'm actually well known by a lot of good people in my occupation, and I'm not hard to forget. I was very private. I'm just like them. If they are a criminal in jurisdiction or those in my kind of role or my caliber, they will understand exactly where I'm coming from and wouldn't take anything I say lightly. But the case is definitely against those in public office. So I'm being made out to be the enemy of the state. Unfortunately, those that have actually stolen off me historically have done that. They've build an alliance, a negative alliance against myself and anyone else that may be a threat, or they're actually like there's no survivors. It's that kind of a game, and I feel this is what I'm supposed to do, is actually expose the game. But I have been the main person used in the game historically. But it is a global game now, and well, it has been for a long time. I didn't know this in the beginning, but it does involve not only just people in government and different agencies or different states globally, but it actually also involves people in public, making it really dangerous now because they're inciting on the radio. And it's very likely that my whole area and those others that are targeted, their whole area too is contaminated and also at risk of being attacked at any time. Alright guys, I know some of you are old school like I am, but unfortunately this is what's going on out in the real world globally. So if you're old school like me, you're pretty much really easy to be lured into this kind of a game that I've been subject to without your consent and without you even knowing it's happening before it's too late. But it is like playing Star Wars and Breaches. It's a subtle, cunning thing, and they are using different people all the time, and they only need one person in your space to actually portray you. And then whatever you say, it goes straight to the hands of those that are doing everything possible to eliminate you. The reason why they're doing that is because they know that they will go to prison if legal action is taken against them. There are other reasons behind it, is their reputation. But yeah, so so I'm basically just up against them for my own personal property, which is my personal profile and my existence on Earth. Okay, so I'm definitely in a slave game, and the public knows it too. That's why everyone's participating, because it's just a game. It's it's a sport. So the danger about the game is, I have found very cowardice, is whatever the original nationality the original is, the perpetrators or the actual mastermind behind it are actually like interpreting that person's nationality it's like against that person's nationality. And so it's like, for example, a Chinese, and then it's like all the Chinese gang up are sided with the person that's Chinese, or all the Maoris, if the person's Māori, all the Maoris are ganging up on behalf of that original. But it's a global game, okay, and it is a government. I have to tell the story as it is, but it does involve other government agencies. The danger about it is that the actual originals are actually the innocent victims. They're just being used in the global game. So if the unfortunate thing is that if the defendants are the ones that that is their reputation as an Indian, then they all protect that person, and that is what everyone is doing globally in this game. I just can't believe it's gotten out of hand and gone this far as it has. But it doesn't mean to those that are participating free money. They are secretly stealing the originals' business ideas. They're secretly stealing or poaching their members, or they're doing whatever they can to eventually shut down their businesses just by the misuse of devices, and that's what they're doing now. So I'll just go into the next post. And they are and have been using me for relationship scam and to get their foot in the door. So I'd say while I was working for the Ministry of Justice, they used the game to, to get their foot in the door. They've used me like bait, and that's what they've done, and that's what happens when they neglect, when people break the law and pervert the course of justice, and that that's what happens, is that they've used me like bait, and then they've used me to actually study my job and how the system works, and then they're actually hiring, going backwards, they're actually hiring their families and friends, and this is the reason why people get into their cliquey group, and they usually hire the people that's either they're align with their same belief. So they end up building a very dangerous alliance, and this is what has happened globally, and they've done this also while I was going to church. But that's why privacy breaches are really serious. So unfortunately, those who have broken the law in my personal profile is now made accountable, will be, or probably is being made accountable for very, very, very serious criminal charges. Okay, so what I've gone through, it's inhumane. It's so personal. It's so intimate. It's horrific. The charges definitely, like, I will confirm it as like 3rd degree murder by unlawful acts if I got murdered. Okay. Another good one is to explain is like, this is so dangerous that they can make somebody die of a heart attack, okay, because of the pressure, the stress is so immediate, and I can actually prove in the court of law that those things did happen while I was working for my employer, that all these happened just by indirect breaking the law, if I remember rightly, because I got poisoned while I was at work, and I had this cough for a very long time, for like 3 to 4 months. I've already talked about this on my other one of my videos, but I won't go on about it. But I'm just using that as an example of whoever is responsible of trying to make me have a heart attack can now be charged for conspiracy to commit murder just from those incidents. I'm using that as an example. Can I bring out evidence even though it was that long ago? Answer is yes, I can, definitely. But it is, if I had died and during those moments while I was working for my employer, it would actually be 3rd degree murder by unlawful acts and by criminal alliances, because I'm up against criminal alliances who are intimately glued to my soul, is the word. So that's how serious it is. It is a global game, but they can do this now to anyone globally. Okay, so we're looking at internal corruption. Okay, so it's organised crime. You'll be micromanaged under the camera and surveillance, and they're hacking into your laptop. They'll find a way. There's internet, you can do just about anything now, and misuse of devices, they can easily deceive people, but the individuals are definitely in a trap environment. Okay, so I can actually prove in the court of law that I was poisoned while I was working for my employer by a flu injection. So that comes under 14 years imprisonment, just for poisoning. But I have had other incidents where I've been by myself, where I have known, I know that I've had the suspicion somebody had injected something on me, like people have been coming into my my personal space or my home when I'm asleep, and I've woken up and I've just known, is those kind of things, but you can't prove it, but you just know, and so I've had all those kind of things I've been subject to. Just one moment. So if somebody injects somebody with something, it's called infected with a disease. I don't have a disease, but I know that somebody has injected something in me, because I'm a really healthy person, physically, mentally. I'm old school. I'm not into taking tablets of any kind. I don't like it. If I do, it's only Panadol that I would take just for a headache if I'm not feeling well. That seems to work quite quickly for me, unless I'm pretty sick and I've got a chest infection or something and I need antibiotics. But very rare in my medical records. You can just tell that I'm a healthy person because I'm hardly sick. So this here would come under conspiring to commit an offence. That is exactly what it is in the criminal jurisdiction. Anyone getting caught out or participating as a group using the misuse of devices, everyone within that environment becomes becomes a suspect or a party to in a criminal offence. So even if they try to attempt to kill somebody, that's still conspiracy. So I've basically put it on this post what a conspiracy actually means, and so in reality, all those women used in this love triangle that I've been subject to, they all fall in this category according to the law. They all fall in the alliance of deception, because they've used me to animate me and divert the energy or steal, or to use me for relationship scams. So this here can also be, they can be charged even after the, whether the case took a long time ago, they can still be charged. They just need to put the evidence together, and then a person will get charged after the fact to that offence. So, every action is made accountable, nothing's for free. So I just thought I'd just highlight all that, because I think everyone needs to know that. Alright, okay guys, so I'm actually old school. I still prefer the old school method because they were more competent, like the accuracy was more, it was legit. And you couldn't really challenge it. Like the old system, I found very rare. I don't think actually in the history of when I was working for the courts, I have never known a judge actually write an unlawful strike judgment. Never. So that's how competent the judges were. And so, but this modern new age system, they're using the misuse of devices, and nowadays you can't tell who's actually got real mental health problem and who has. Okay, so that's the danger of what we're all going through at the moment. Okay, so in my cases, people that are if you've put in complaints and stuff like that with the corporate agencies, these people are all made accountable for their duty at the time. It doesn't matter how long ago it happened, but according to the laws, they will all be audited for their participation in any criminal case upon any individual. So any criminal case can be resurfaced at any point of time if there's sufficient evidence, and accessory after the fact, those people who have participated in a crime scene and then left the country or gone overseas thinking that they're never going to get caught. Unfortunately, the laws in the criminal laws, if they come up with sufficient evidence, they have the authority to come and arrest you and make you accountable for those crimes and bring you back to whichever country you're in, to make you accountable for your duty at the time. So it doesn't pay to break the laws. It pays for you to actually know the laws, so you don't use your public office for the wrong reasons. Okay, so I did court. I was a deputy court registrar for 7 years. 10.5 years of my government occupation, and I usually worked in the criminal jurisdiction, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But judiciary corruption is very serious. You would never find anyone like myself play games or compromise the integrity of themselves or the business or the government courts or anything like that, to do to put somebody else's life at risks, because there's always consequences. And that goes for anyone in the Minister of Crown, like anybody, like anyone can be made accountable going backwards. I know that in my case, what's happened to me historically, a lot of people, politicians have been involved in the past. Unfortunately, they too can be made accountable if they're linked to what I've gone through historically. But I'm just going through these because if you don't know about these laws, they do apply to everyone. Everyone is accountable to something. This also includes people who are actually doing the surveillancing, the monitoring. You are also accountable. And in the legislation, it clearly tells the year that the penalty that they'll be imprisonment for if they are involved. That includes the police or anybody from overseas, foreign public officials, anyone. All right. And people, like, I know I've been denouncing video clips in regards to the relationship scam. I've mentioned that in my other video clips because I knew that they were using the relationship scams to influence the people in politics, or to influence those in government, or to influence any of my applications I make to court, or any of my applications I make privately. And this is what they're actually doing. So if you think you're being discriminated or declined for no reason, it's very likely you're going through what I'm going through. Because honest to God, I am probably the most boringest person around as far as privacy is concerned, because I'm that private. But I'm only doing this because I feel this is where God has led me to do, even though I don't like what I'm going on social media. But I feel it's time, and I am supposed to be doing this for the sake of other people who are not familiar of the changes that's happening globally. So as you know, anything to do about false accusations or anything fake news or unlawful strikes, unfortunately falls in this too. It's a conspiracy to bring false accusation on an innocent person. In this case, me and Henry are both fall in that. We're both innocent civilians, even though we work, we had prominent public, we were actually like a public figure in our own worlds, but that doesn't give anyone the right to actually do what they've done. What I mean by that is use us for a relationship scam and taking our freedom away and all the other things that have happened. I'm just using this as an example. So when those in public office refuse to do their jobs, they're actually conspiring to defeat justice. They will be charged for all that. So anyone that I've mentioned already through the legislation, if they are all caught out in something that is a conspiracy, they would fall under the duty of a person's doing dangerous acts. So if they've got influencing somebody's court case, or conspiring to sabotage somebody, they fall all in this category. That includes the doctors, medical practitioners, anybody in public office, even the police, everyone. So I know I've spoken quite a bit by now. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, being animator or inanimate. It means all your friends and families could be going through this too. Massive danger is you do end up losing everything slowly because of privacy breaches. No doubt somebody is collecting all your information secretly without you knowing, and they can use it against you. I'm just looking at my notes. So what they've done with me historically is that they dug up my past, and then they've pinned me down, and then they've used people that I've known within my personal space and other public people to pin me down, to spy on me, and that is how it's been for me historically. It is that evil that once they've studied you just from recording and everything that I've already mentioned, it's very easy to keep somebody suppressed, and then they're using the radio so all the spies are everywhere, meaning your whole environment is contaminated. But they are picking on your faults, okay, and that's what they've done to me. Or they're interpreting or just making up things just to get people to be on their side, like a smear campaign. Unfortunately, all that can be used against you if you're called out on radio and on television, because it's a breach. Now, this here is also really, I feel, for the sake of those that are purely got honest intentions. I found that those that have surveillanced me have actually wanted to find fault. So that this is where the twinning or the diverting of my energy to somebody else, and then they are concentrating on my faults, and then they're like punishing me. This is how it feels like they're punishing me or just hurting me intentionally, while other people are gaining all the benefits publicly. And that is who how the public game works, is that the public favors the person that is being used to animate publicly or live your life as if they're the original, but they're not actually that original. So they can do this to couples. They can do this. They all want to get their foot in the door about fame and money. The danger is that they're actually deceiving the public, and their intent is actually to steal, and it can divert and end up murdering, the originals in the process after stealing. It's really easy to do, and I can actually prove that in my court case. Okay, so this leads me to what I want to talk about today, is about the public funding and the public resources, okay? So this here, my case is a very good one. Let me just go over here. Okay, some of the exhibits I've got on my profile and my statement of claim with the Ministry of Justice case. I've talked about the Unison Dance Crew incorporation. Legally, by law, I'm the one who actually legalized it, and there's sufficient evidence to prove that. But during this time, there was another manager. I already mentioned who that is. So what actually happened is, I'm just using what happened in this situation, was that everyone conspired what they did in favor of the other manager. Okay, they all conspired secretly, the government, those in public, their family, their friends, and they all conspired to pin me down at my work, in my private life. I knew what was happening. They were stalking me and doing their stage talking about making emotionally blackmailing me while I was at work, and emotionally blackmailing me when I was going out in public. They're using their cars and coming out using funeral looking cars as to indicate someone's going to die, or they're indicating they're going to kill somebody. It's called emotional blackmail. They eventually want to put fear in you, so they want to stop you from doing what they don't want you to do, but it's all done by micromanaging, and it is organized crime. So these are the things that I was going through while I was working for my employer. Now, the Unison Dance Crew, there's clear evidence that I'm the one who legalized it, and last time I checked, I'm still legally that person. But it is definitely an exhibit now in my criminal case. But the Unison Dance Crew, it contained of a lot of white supremacists and the Aotearoa group of people. I'm not being racist, because I'm not racist, but I have to describe the possibilities of everyone that's behind the criminal alliance to do with me. But so when it's a public alliance like that, it's actually very, very, very dangerous for the originals. But I was definitely in a lockout situation. I tried to deal with this legally in court after talking to my lawyer back then, and because all I wanted to do was close it and get my name off it. But that court case was also sabotage. So Unison Dance Crew definitely comes under this here, where unlawful corruption, irregular use of public funds. So the people who actually did steal off me, who actually, it's a fraud case, and all I needed to do was just to prove that I had nothing to do with this group after the court case, and I didn't. And that's the reason why I've had to do that. If I didn't do that, nobody else will know. Of course, it's a sport game of using innocent civilians who are actually honest, and then they are secretly stealing off them. And that's what's happened to me historically. But I left enough evidence to actually build a very serious criminal case, and to declare and to actually affirm that I'm being definitely used for human trafficking by force. But I did go through everything that I'm going through, lockout situation, and so that's what's happened. But that is definitely, I believe, is one of the starting point of the criminal harassment that I was suffering, going backwards to 2010 and linking to the relationship scams. Okay, now the Aotearoa is like in favour with Moana, and Iko Haronga. That's the alliance that I'm up against. So it's very likely that somebody in your member of your family or your friends is in that alliance. So they're not really for you, they're actually betraying you, and that is how difficult it's been for myself. That's the same with the alliance, with the relationship scam with Natalie Vasquiso and Henry Cavill and myself, and then the other female, Amy Denton. They are our opposing allies. They are the ones, I'm just repeating, making everyone wake up. That is what I've gone through. The alliances, it's the same alliances, but they're all helping each other. And they are all linked to my court cases, but it is a criminal case. There are consequences for everything, everyone. So if you've injured somebody by an unlawful act, that's a crime. That's 3 years penalty. Okay, whatever that may be. So all these things have actually happened to me. If you ended up wounding or injuring somebody during a conspiracy, that's 14 years imprisonment. But as you can see, we know now why we have laws and why they actually, that's quite a long time to put somebody in prison. Yep, so poisoning with the intent is 14 years imprisonment. So my Ministry of Justice is liable for that, and whoever did the injected me. That's the same too with what happened with Henry. Whoever, that female that injected her, and the doctors, was a corporate body involved, they too would know this. This is a criminal charge that they would be liable for. And for the sake of those, just for common knowledge, setting traps, and it can be anything. Could be setting up a car accident for a trap, or and just as a warning, I feel that these people, when they're embedded into your private everything, some of the car accidents, I have a reason to believe, are intentional to actually murder the people, the actual people in the car accident. But they are like taking bolts off people's wheels, like they're making those. If people are making threats like that, it means that's the intent. So I suggest you check your wheels and check your, keep your keys to yourself and trust nobody with it. But those are some of those car accidents. I know that it's because they are taking bolts of people's wheels, because those are the kind of threats that gangs do before they like to intimidate people. They like to warn them and frighten them. If they don't listen, they make their threats and then they will follow them through. So that would come under that, plus many other charges. But I'm just telling you, in the moment, that is what they are doing. Their intent is to make things look like an accident, but it's not an accident, and it's very easy to do when people's privacy are gone. Setting people up for a relationship scam is also setting up traps. It doesn't matter if some cultures and they believe in arranged marriages, or this new age system where some women or some men may be in a category that these people think you're not good enough, and then they put you, they make sure that you don't be in a relationship, or they interfere or sabotage your relationship. That this here too falls in that setting traps, because according to the laws, those beliefs doesn't come into account. Okay, I have found that they've used me for that. It looks like they've used me to lure men in, or use me like bait, and then they steal, and then they put they are stealing, literally. But they would definitely fall in this trap. If you listen to the radio or the TV, they've actually divided the system, like fresher, younger. So the older generation may be under threat because of all this. Because they are interfering in your private conversations, and they are intimately reading your texts. And it's so easy for them to sabotage. Just going through some of the posts, you can read it yourself in your own time. So when you're exploited, every single law in the criminal jurisdiction is broken. So you're always at risk. Your children are at risk too. It's a concealed situation, so people are concealed. My case, they keep covering up, and they keep repeating the cycle, meaning they haven't stopped attacking me. They keep stealing, they keep twinning and switching. And this post is really good to use. Espionage globally. See what this guy is doing here. He's reading, monitoring. It's okay to be monitoring, but it's another thing if people are actually interfering and tipping people off in the public. That's a breach. It's really hard to detect and to catch them out, but it is possible to catch them out. All right. So people who are actually surveillancing us, they too can be still made accountable if there's a loss of any kind to any human being. So if anyone's broken any laws that are, a breach is quite serious, very, 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 very serious. Perjury takes place, and that alone is 14 years imprisonment. Depending on the crime, it may be 3 years. So if you're exploited, expect your everything you're going through, a chance of being attacked personally without your consent. I have found I've done nothing, like I'm so minding my own business, But there have been times the opposing allies have tried to provoke a reaction from me, or they've used other people to try and find out what is my next move, and stuff like that. That's why I just keep bringing the police, because it's their job to find out, it's a breach, but they used to in the old system. But obviously, my case is historical and there's a clear case. I'm a threat to so many people. But yes, I'm just saying, you read your circumstances correctly. And reality is, after a very long period of time, both Henry and I actually fall in this category. We've been used as slaves, literally. So my case clearly shows definite racial disharmony. So cybercrime, I know one thing for sure. I am definitely not cursed. This whole system is that they're interpreting or dictating people's circumstances with their own words. That's what they're doing. They're dictating and interpreting people's circumstances, but they're actually defaming the person without their consent. And they're doing that on the radio, television, but it is racial disharmony. So this all happens and takes place. And then we have racial harassment. So if the police won't intervene or investigate or stop people from doing it, clearly shows that they're all part of the game. But at the end of the day, according to the law, they're the ones who are made accountable for not doing anything about stopping it. We can be confidential and private, as like I have, but it's very likely that your privacy can be easily taken away from you without even you knowing. Okay, so you've got to always be aware and to challenge those who do breach your privacy. What I have found, what they've done is, after they study individuals, say for example, if a person they like to pick on innocent civilians, and I think other cultures, other people that hate you, they're so jealous and envious. They see, they just see you as the enemy, and they like to pick on other people's flaws. So for example, if you drink alcohol, they want to highlight that, or they're interpreting your set of circumstances and then comparing it with somebody else who's not doing that, or comparing it spiritually, like in the Bible or religions. They've compared people's set of circumstances to the Bible. Unfortunately, the Bible is only letters without the Holy Spirit. It's only letters written by men that were actually godly and used by God, men and women used by God back in those generation. But unfortunately, everything in the laws in the Bible, like for example, if a woman is divorced or a man is divorced, it doesn't mean they have to they're married to that person for the rest of their life. And that is what they've been doing to me. That's cultural and that's religion. In other words, it's actually no one's business what other people do in their private life. But if you get caught out indicating that or using those kind of things to turn other people away from a specific person or group, that you can be charged too for defamation. So anything organised falls under serious violent offences. So this is commonly used in organised crimes. So the reality is, if you, I've been targeted, for a very, very long time, and not targeted only just naturally, but spiritually. I've had so many people target me, fault finding me, and I believe I'm now within my space to put those things right publicly and legally. Now, going back to Unison Dance Crew, I knew it was worth hundreds and thousands of dollars. So whoever was behind stealing this off me, is responsible with what I've gone through, because they actually pinned me down. At that time, all those people in the court involving the negative alliances, they all work together and they all pin me down. Unfortunately, some of them were registrars in the courts. They all become suspect of fraud and in a conspiracy involving serious crimes. They would all be, be made accountable or investigated, which is easy to do. So I guess this is a really good example. There was definitely funding involved in this. So I reckon what actually happened is people, have intentionally stolen off me or used me for fraud using tax evasion, and then they've kept me pinned down while they all pretend to live the life. And that's the same like with Natalie and using a double, pretending and deceiving the public, and yet there's this the real Henry's actually been fighting for his life, but he's doing well, guys. He's okay, but I'm just using that as an example, and I believe this is where the Moana clan, she's linked to the Church of Christ. It's deeper than that, but it's quite clear that these agencies are breaking the law and building their foundation on deception. And so keep in mind that to actually animate or use substitutes and do what they're doing, it's actually illegal, because there's nothing in law that actually says it's okay to do that, because to do that, it's actually in a criminal legislation in the Crimes Act, that is, it's actually a criminal act. So I think I've got my point out. So just for the sake of those, you will always be targeted. But at least now it's better to know what to do than not know what to do. But I worked for the government for 17 and a half years. When I started having problems while I was working within my job, it was just a situation I had to ride out, and I honestly, there were times I thought I was going to die, but it is a system. I know people don't want to hear it, but it's a system where once they target somebody like they have with me, there is no survivors. So the people that are doing the actual murdering, their motive and intent is there's no survivors after they do what they do. But that, so it's just one of those serious cases. They have to make everybody, whoever is responsible, be made accountable. But the whole idea is to make the laws work and save innocent civilians from these kind of illegal conspiracy games. Okay, so I'll end it there. But the core evidence is definitely relationship scams. They've just repeated themselves. I'm the survivor of a trafficking ring, and yes, I do know who is definitely behind it. So I'm out of it now, and the whole idea is just to go forward as best as I can, as God guides me. Okay, so I'm going to leave with this verse here. This here clearly describes what God actually hates. So if you look in Proverbs 6:16 to 19, basically I believe all I've done is just write out exactly what God wanted to show me personally, as He'd been using me for His will and His purposes. I know everything that I am today, I give God the glory, and that is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm doing that. It's nothing about myself other than that I do believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. But so I'll leave you with that. So this here is a guideline of what we're actually dealing with spiritually, and I believe that the laws are there to protect people spiritually and naturally, so these are God's laws. So if these people are breaking the law, there's a reason why God made these laws in the first place, or the godly men and women who actually started off making the laws back in the old system, was for the very reason to stop what I've gone through from happening to any innocent civilian, whether you're working for the government or whether you're a public member. So because it's all about my court case and what everyone has done to me as a human being, now it's like, because of all the cases that I've got in court, I've got here whose fault is it. Everyone wants to blame everybody, but they have to point at the people responsible in the moment, the originals in the moment. They have to find out what happened to everybody, and it's quite clearly everything I've gone through has been premeditated, and nothing of it has been natural. Okay, the odd time things have been natural, but most of it hasn't been natural. So if you don't know the difference with what's natural and what's premeditated, you can be easily deceived. Okay guys, thanks. Welcome to, I'll finish that up with this clip, and just watch all my other video clips. It's really good if you're into criminology or you're into law. It's my evidence, my in the moment truth, and my facts coming alive verbally by myself. And yeah, so I'll see you in my next clip.